The phone rang at 2:17 a.m. He stared at the screen. Daughter calling. He hadn't heard from her in 6 years. His thumb hovered over the answer button. Then he pressed decline. The phone stopped ringing. Silence. The next morning, police knocked on his door, and what they said made his knees give out. Because that call was her last chance to live. The first time she called him Dad, he was standing ankle-deep in cold water under a house that wasn't his. A broken pipe had flooded the crawl space, and he'd been there for hours, hands numb, back aching, fixing something no one would ever see. That was the kind of man he was. The kind who fixed things quietly. The kind who stayed. She was 5 years old, standing at the edge of the opening, her tiny sneakers muddy, her voice echoing down through the darkness. Dad, are you coming up? He remembered freezing, not because of the cold, but because of the word. Dad. It wasn't something she said often back then. After her mother left, she barely spoke at all. Just watched him, studied him, like she wasn't sure if he would disappear too. I'm coming, he had said, forcing a smile she couldn't fully see. And when he climbed out, covered in dirt and sweat, she didn't step back. She ran forward, wrapped her arms around his leg, and held on like he was the only solid thing in her world. Years passed the way they always do, quietly, unevenly, without warning. He worked more than he talked. Double shifts, weekend jobs, night calls, anything to keep the lights on, food on the table, and her in school with shoes that didn't fall apart. He wasn't the kind of father who gave speeches. He didn't say, I love you every day. But he showed up. Every recital, even if he stood in the back in his work boots. Every school meeting, even if he smelled like oil and metal. Every birthday, with a cake that leaned a little to one side because he made it himself. And for a long time, that was enough. She used to wait for him by the door. Used to run into his arms the same way she did that day under the house. Used to tell him everything. About school, about friends, about dreams that were too big for the small kitchen they sat in. But somewhere along the way, that changed. It started small. A sigh when he asked too many questions. A roll of her eyes when he showed up in work clothes. A quiet, you don't understand, that cut deeper than any insult. He told himself it was just growing up. Teenagers pull away. That's what everyone says. But this felt different. Colder. Sharper. Like she wasn't just growing, she was leaving him behind. The night everything cracked wasn't loud at first. No screaming. No slammed doors. Just tension sitting heavy in the air like a storm waiting to break. She stood in the kitchen, dressed in a way he didn't recognize anymore. Not his little girl. Not the kid who used to hold his hand crossing the street. Someone else. I'm moving out, she said. Just like that. No build-up. No warning. He looked up from the table slowly, grease still under his fingernails from a job he'd just come back from. You're what? I got a place. With people who actually support me. The words hit harder than they should have. Support me. Like everything he'd done didn't count. Who, he asked. It doesn't matter. It matters to me. She laughed. Not the kind he remembered. This one was sharp. Defensive. You wouldn't get it anyway. That was the moment he should have softened. Should have listened. Should have asked why instead of pushing back. But he didn't. Because he was tired. Because he was hurt. Because somewhere deep down, he felt like he was losing her. You're not leaving this house for something stupid, he said, voice tightening. It's not stupid. Then explain it. I don't have to explain my life to you. Silence. Heavy. Final. They stood there staring at each other like strangers who used to be family. You think you know everything, she said, quieter now. But you don't even know me anymore. That one landed. Because part of him knew. She might be right. He crossed his arms, building a wall he didn't know how to take down. If you walk out that door, he said, don't expect me to come chasing after you. It wasn't what he meant, but it's what came out. And once words like that leave your mouth, they don't come back. She nodded slowly, like something inside her had just settled. Fine. No tears. No hesitation. Just one last look around the house. And then at him. You'll regret this. The door closed softly behind her. Not a slam. Not dramatic. Just final. He stood there for a long time after. Waiting. For footsteps coming back. For the handle to turn. For her to change her mind. But she didn't. And neither did he. That was the night he told himself she'd come back, when she was ready. That she just needed time. That he had done his part. He didn't know. That was the last time he would see her as his daughter. Before she became a stranger. Before 6 years of silence. before a phone call at 2:17 in the morning. That would change everything. The house felt different the moment she left. Not quieter, he was used to silence, but emptier in a way that made even the walls feel distant. Her room door stayed slightly open, just the way she used to leave it. A habit he'd complained about 100 times. Now it looked like an invitation, or maybe a question. He didn't go in. Not that night. He sat at the kitchen table long after the clock passed midnight, staring at the second chair across from him. Her chair. There was still a glass sitting there, half full of water. A fingerprint smudged along the side. He reached for it, then stopped. Something about touching it felt like admitting she wasn't coming back. So he left it there, like proof she still existed in this house. The next morning, he woke up at the same time. 5:30 a.m. Out of habit. For a second, everything felt normal. Coffee brewing. Boots by the door. The quiet hum of the refrigerator. Then it hit him. No footsteps upstairs. No rushed, "I'm late," echoing down the hallway. No door slamming as she ran out. Just nothing. He told himself not to overthink it. She just needs space, he muttered, pulling on his jacket. Kids always come back. Work didn't help. It never did. Fixing things for other people just reminded him of what he couldn't fix at home. He crawled under sinks, rewired panels, patched leaks, solving problems with clear causes and clear solutions. Tighten this. Replace that. Seal the crack. Done. Simple. But this? There was no wrench for this. At lunch, one of the guys asked, "Your kid still in school?" He nodded without looking up. Yeah. The lie came out too easily. Days turned into a week. Then 2. Then a month. The first time he tried calling her, it was late. Too late. He stood in the living room, phone in hand, staring at her name on the screen. Emily. He hadn't said it out loud in days. It felt strange in his mouth. He pressed call. It rang once. Twice. Then straight to voicemail. He didn't leave a message. What would he even say? "Come home. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it." He hung up. Told himself she was busy. She didn't call back. Weeks later, he saw her for the first time. Not in person. On a screen. A coworker was scrolling through something on his phone during a break. "Hey, check this out," the guy said. "My niece follows this girl. She's blowing up online." He barely looked at first. Then he froze. It was her. Emily stood in front of a camera, smiling in a way he hadn't seen in years. Bright lights. Clean background. Perfect angles. She looked different. More confident. More polished. Like she belonged somewhere else now. "Who is she?" someone asked. "Some influencer or something?" The co-worker shrugged. "Looks like she's doing well." He didn't say anything. Just watched. She laughed in the video. A smooth, effortless sound. Not the messy, loud laugh she used to have when she was little. This one felt practiced. He went home that night and searched her name. It didn't take long to find her. Profiles. Photos. Videos. Hundreds of comments. Thousands of likes. She looked happy. That's what everyone would think. Trips to places he'd never been. Clothes he couldn't afford. People he didn't recognize. But the more he looked, the more something didn't sit right. The smiles didn't reach her eyes. The caption sounded too perfect. Like someone was trying too hard to prove something. He noticed the people she was around. Always the same type. Flashy. Loud. Confident in a way that felt hollow. And then there was one face. A man. Always just slightly in the background. Hand on her shoulder. Standing too close. He didn't like the way the guy looked at her. That night, he almost called again. Phone in hand. Thumb hovering. But then he remembered her voice. Asterisk. You don't even know me anymore. Asterisk. So he put the phone down. Months passed. Her life kept moving forward. Bigger. Louder. More distant. His stayed the same. Work. Home. Silence. Every now and then, he would check her page. Just to make sure she was okay. He never liked anything. Never commented. Never reached out. Just watched. From a distance. Like a stranger. Until one night, he noticed something new. A post. Short. Simple. No filters. No bright smile. Just a photo of her sitting alone. Eyes tired. Makeup smudged. Caption. Some days are harder than they look. It only stayed up for 10 minutes. Then it was gone. But he saw it. And for the first time since she left, something inside his chest tightened. Because beneath all the perfection, he finally saw it. She wasn't okay. And somewhere deep down, he knew She didn't have anyone left to call. Time didn't move forward for him the way it did for her. For Emily, life seemed to accelerate. New places, new faces, new versions of herself appearing every few weeks online. But for him, time settled, like dust. Mornings were always the same. Wake up before sunrise. Coffee in the same chipped mug. Sit at the same kitchen table. Look at the same empty chair across from him. At first, he kept expecting it to change. Some sign, a message, a call. Even anger would have been something. But silence. Silence stretches. It fills every corner of a room until you forget what noise used to sound like. He stopped calling after the third attempt. Not because he didn't want to, but because each unanswered ring felt like proof of something he didn't want to admit. Instead, he built a routine around not thinking. Work longer hours. Take extra jobs. Fix things that weren't even broken just to stay busy. Because when he stopped moving, that's when her voice came back. Asterisk, you don't even know me anymore. Asterisk. Maybe he didn't. One evening, after a long shift, he sat down with his phone again. Not to call, just to look. Her profile had grown. More followers. More attention. More comments from strangers who thought they knew her. You're glowing. Living your best life. Goals fire. He scrolled slowly. Each photo felt like a version of her he had never met. In one, she stood on a rooftop overlooking a city skyline, dressed in something elegant, holding a glass of something expensive. In another, she was laughing in a group, surrounded by people who looked like they had never worried about anything real. And then there was that same man again. Always there, not front and center, but never far. Hand on her back, standing just behind her shoulder, watching. The kind of presence you don't notice at first, until you do. He clicked into one of the videos. She was talking directly to the camera, confident, smooth, controlled. Sometimes you have to leave behind what holds you back, she said. You have to choose yourself. The comments flooded in with support, encouragement, applause. But he didn't hear empowerment. He heard distance. Was that how she saw him now? Something she had to leave behind? He locked his phone, sat back, exhaled slowly. You did what you could, he muttered to himself. You gave her everything. But even as he said it, it didn't feel true anymore. Because giving someone everything you know how to give doesn't mean it's what they needed. Days blurred together, then weeks, then months. Until one afternoon, something unusual happened. His phone rang. He almost didn't recognize the number. It wasn't saved, but something about it made his chest tighten. He answered. Hello. Silence. Then breathing. Soft. Uneven. Dad. His grip on the phone tightened instantly. Emily. But the line cut. Just like that. He stared at the screen. Call ended. No explanation. No message. Nothing. He tried calling back immediately. Straight to voicemail. His heart was pounding now, faster than it had in years. He called again, and again, and again. Nothing. Finally, he stopped, staring at the phone like it might explain itself. That single word echoed in his head. Dad. She hadn't called him that in years. Something was wrong. He could feel it. Not logically, not clearly, but instinctively. The same instinct that told him when a wire was overheating behind a wall. The same feeling that something unseen was about to break. That night, he didn't sleep. He sat in the dark living room, phone in his hand, waiting, listening. Every sound made him look up. Every vibration made his heart jump. But the phone stayed silent. Around 3 a.m., he finally leaned back, closing his eyes for just a moment. And in that brief space between waking and sleep, he remembered something. Her voice. Not from years ago. Not from childhood. From that call. Dad. It hadn't sounded angry. Or distant. It sounded scared. His eyes snapped open. And for the first time in a long time, fear settled in his chest. Because whatever was happening in her life, she had reached out. And he didn't know if he had just missed his chance to understand why. The second time she reached out, she didn't call. She posted. It was late, past midnight. The kind of hour where the world feels quieter than it should, like something is waiting. He was sitting in his chair, TV on but muted, eyes unfocused. His phone buzzed. A notification. He didn't usually react to those anymore, but something made him pick it up. Her name. Emily had posted. He opened it immediately. No filters. No polished lighting. No background music. Just a dimly lit room. And her. She was sitting on the floor, back against a wall. Hair messy. Eyes swollen. Not crying, but like she had already cried too much. She didn't smile. Didn't perform. Didn't try to look perfect. For the first time in years, she looked real. The video played. "I don't usually do this," she said, voice low, uneven. A pause, like she was deciding whether to keep going. "But I think I messed up." His chest tightened instantly. "I thought I knew what I was doing," she continued. "I thought I was finally in control." She let out a small, shaky laugh. It didn't sound like humor. It sounded like regret. "But sometimes, the people you trust." She stopped, looked off camera, like someone might be there. "Aren't who you think they are." Silence filled the rest of the video. She didn't explain, didn't name anyone, didn't ask for help. Just ended it. The post had only been up for 3 minutes. Already hundreds of comments. "What happened? Are you okay? Stay strong, Queen Redheart." He didn't read them. He was already dialing. It rang. Once. Then. Voicemail. He clenched his jaw. Called again. Voicemail. Again. Nothing. He stood up now, pacing, heart racing in a way that didn't match the quiet room. "Come on," he muttered. Then suddenly, the post disappeared. Gone. He froze. Refreshed the page. Nothing. Like it never existed. That same cold feeling crept back into his chest. Stronger this time. This wasn't just distance anymore. This wasn't just pride or growing apart. Something was wrong. And she was hiding it. Across the city, Emily stared at her phone. Delete. She watched the screen go blank. The video gone. Too late. She knew she shouldn't have posted it. He didn't like that kind of attention. Didn't like her looking weak. Her eyes flicked toward the doorway. He wasn't there. But the fear stayed anyway. She pulled her knees closer to her chest, trying to make herself smaller. Her phone buzzed. "Missed call, Dad." Her breath caught. For a second, everything else disappeared. The room, the fear, the pressure. Just that name. Dad. Her thumb hovered over the screen. She could call back. She could just press one button, and everything might change. But then, footsteps. Outside the door. Her whole body went rigid. The handle moved slightly, not opening, just enough to remind her. She wasn't alone. Her hand dropped. The phone slipped slightly in her grip. Another notification. "Missed call, Dad." Tears filled her eyes again. "I'm sorry," she whispered. But she didn't press call. Because asking for help meant admitting she needed it. And somewhere along the way, she had convinced herself she couldn't. Back in the house, he stood in the middle of the living room, phone still in his hand. He stared at her contact. No answer. No explanation. Just silence. Again. But this silence felt different. Before, it was distance. Now, it felt like something was being hidden. He walked to the kitchen, opened the fridge, didn't take anything, just stood there, trying to think. Pieces didn't fit. The video, her voice, that fear in her eyes, and the way it vanished so quickly. He closed the fridge slowly. "You don't even know me anymore." Her words came back again. But this time, they didn't sound like anger. They sounded like a warning. He grabbed his keys, then stopped. Where would he even go? He didn't know her address, didn't know her friends, didn't know her world anymore. And that realization hit harder than anything else. He had lost her, long before she walked out that door. He just didn't realize it until now. He looked down at his phone one more time. No new notifications. No call back. Nothing. And for the first time, he didn't just feel regret. He felt helpless. Because somewhere out there, his daughter was in trouble. And he had no way to reach her. That night, everything finally broke. It didn't happen all at once. No explosion. No screaming. Just pressure building quietly until something inside her gave out. Emily sat on the edge of the bed, staring at her reflection in the dark window. The room behind her was barely lit, just a soft glow from a lamp in the corner. Expensive furniture, clean walls, a place that looked perfect from the outside. But it didn't feel like home, not even close. Her phone rested in her hand, screen dim, battery low. She hadn't moved in almost an hour, just thinking, replaying everything. A sharp knock hit the door. Her entire body tensed. Emily. His voice. Calm. Controlled. But there was something underneath it. Something that made her stomach twist. You still awake? She didn't answer. Another knock. Harder this time. I saw your post. Her breath caught. Silence stretched between them. Heavy. I told you, he continued, voice tightening slightly. We don't do that. Her fingers tightened around her phone. I deleted it, she said quickly, voice barely above a whisper. A pause. Then the handle turned. Unlocked. He stepped inside. Same perfect appearance. Same confident posture. Same smile that had once made everything feel safe. Now it felt different. Cold. Calculated. You know how this works, he said, walking slowly into the room. You represent something bigger now. She nodded. Quickly. Automatically. I know. Then act like it. His eyes scanned her face. The smudged makeup. The red eyes. Disapproval. You look like a mess. Her throat tightened. I'm just tired. Then fix it. The words were simple, but they landed heavy. Because she knew what they meant. Don't show weakness. Don't break. Don't feel. He stepped closer. Too close. You're doing well, Emily, he said, voice softer now. Almost reassuring. Almost. Don't ruin it. Her chest felt tight, like she couldn't breathe properly. I won't, she said quickly. He studied her for a moment longer, then nodded. Good. And just like that, he turned, walked out, closed the door behind him. Click. The sound echoed louder than it should have. She sat there, frozen. Then slowly, her shoulders dropped, and the tears came back. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet, steady, exhausted. She wiped her face quickly, like even now, she wasn't allowed to cry. Her phone buzzed again. Battery, 5%. She stared at it. That name still sitting in her recent calls. Dad. Her chest tightened again. For a moment, she wasn't in that room anymore. She was back in a small kitchen, sitting at a table, watching him fix something broken with his hands. Safe. She swallowed hard. I just need a second, she whispered. But seconds were running out. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. She ignored it. Then again. And again. Her breathing became uneven. Something felt wrong. Not just emotionally. Physically. Her hands were shaking now. Too much pressure. Too much fear. Too much everything. She stood up too quickly. The room spun. She grabbed the edge of the table. Okay. But it wasn't okay. Her chest tightened further. Pain creeping in. Not sharp, but heavy, crushing. Her breath shortened. She reached for her phone again. Battery, 2%. Her vision blurred slightly. And suddenly, all the pride, all the distance, all the walls she built, collapsed. I can't do this, she whispered. Her thumb hovered over the screen. Dad. For the first time in years, she didn't hesitate because of ego, or anger, or pride. She hesitated because of fear. What if he didn't answer? Her hand trembled. Then, she pressed call. The phone rang. Once. Twice. She brought it closer to her ear. Her breathing shallow now. Please, she whispered. 3 rings. Her knees buckled slightly. She slid down against the wall. Please pick up. 4 rings. Her vision darkened at the edges. And then, the line clicked. Silence. Her heart dropped. Call declined. The screen went black. Battery dead. She stared at it. Frozen. For a second, she didn't react. Didn't cry. Didn't move. Just empty. Then her head tilted slightly, resting against the wall. Her breathing slowed. Too slow. And the room went quiet. Somewhere far away, a siren echoed faintly through the night. But inside that room, there was no sound at all. The phone stopped ringing, but the silence didn't. He was still sitting in the dark when it happened. 2:17 a.m. glowing faintly on the screen. The room quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant ticking of the clock. He stared at the phone in his hand. Missed call, Emily. His thumb hovered just above the screen. Still. Frozen. He could still feel it. That split-second decision. Answer or don't. And he hadn't. He exhaled slowly, leaning back into the chair. She'll call again, he muttered. He said it out loud this time, like saying it made it true. She always does. But even as the words left his mouth, something didn't sit right. Because she didn't always call. In fact, she almost never did. His grip on the phone tightened slightly. Call her back. The thought came quick. Sharp. Simple. Just press one button. But then, that voice. Her voice. Asterisk. You don't even know me anymore. Asterisk. His jaw tightened. She made her choice, he said under his breath. Another excuse. Another wall. She left. Silence again. But this time, it pressed harder. He looked down at the screen. Still lit. Still waiting. His thumb moved. Hovered over her name. Then, he locked the phone. Set it down on the table. And leaned back, closing his eyes. Tomorrow, he whispered. I'll call her tomorrow. Across the city, the phone slipped from her hand. It hit the floor softly. Screen already black. Emily didn't notice. Her head rested against the wall. Eyes half open. Unfocused. The room felt distant. Like she wasn't fully in it anymore. Her chest rose slowly. Too slowly. Each breath shallow. Weak. The pain had dulled. But not in a good way. It wasn't relief. It was fading. Her fingers twitched slightly. Like her body was trying to hold on. But there was nothing left to grab. No voice. No answer. No one. Back in the house. He didn't sleep. Not really. His body stayed still in the chair. But his mind kept moving. Flashes. Memories. Fragments. Her as a child. Running toward him. Laughing. Holding his hand. Her as a teenager. Rolling her eyes. Pulling away. Her voice. That last call. Asterisk, Dad. Asterisk. His eyes opened suddenly. The word echoed louder now. Not angry. Not distant. Scared. He sat up. Heart beating faster. Something was wrong. He could feel it now. Clearer than before. That instinct again. That same feeling he'd had under walls, inside wires. When something unseen was about to fail. He grabbed his phone again. Opened her contact. Press call. It rang. Once. Twice. Then, voicemail. His stomach dropped. Come on, he whispered. He called again. Voicemail. Again. Nothing. This time, he didn't stop. He stood up, pacing now. Call. Voicemail. Call. Voicemail. Over and over. Until his breathing turned uneven. Until his chest tightened. Until that quiet house didn't feel quiet anymore. It felt wrong. Pick up, he muttered. Emily, pick up. But she didn't. Because she couldn't. Time passed. Minutes. Maybe more. He didn't know. All he knew was something had shifted. The air felt heavier. The silence louder. And for the first time, he wasn't just uneasy. He was afraid. Then, a sound. Not from the phone. From outside. Distant. Faint. A siren. He froze. Listening. It grew louder. Closer. His heart started pounding. No, he whispered. The siren passed. Kept going. Not stopping. He exhaled. Just slightly. But the fear didn't leave. Because deep down, he knew. Something had already happened. He just didn't know what yet. The clock read 3:08 a.m. He was still standing in the middle of the room. Phone in his hand. No new calls. No messages. Nothing. And that was the worst part. Because silence means two things. Either everything is fine, or everything is already too late. He looked down at her name one more time. His voice barely a whisper now. Please be okay. But there was no answer. Just the same quiet house. The same empty space. And a decision he could never take back. Morning didn't feel like morning. It felt like something unfinished. The light coming through the window was too soft, too normal for the way his chest felt. Like the world had moved on without asking him. He hadn't gone to bed. Hadn't turned off the lights. Hadn't even taken off his boots. He was still sitting there when the knock came. Sharp. Heavy. Not casual. Not friendly. Authoritative. His head lifted slowly. Eyes fixed on the door. Another knock. Sir. A voice this time. Male. Calm. His stomach dropped. Something inside him already knew. He stood up slowly. Every movement heavier than it should be. The walk to the door felt longer than usual. Like the hallway had stretched overnight. His hand hovered over the handle. Just for a second. Because once he opened it, there was no going back. He turned it. The door creaked open. 2 officers stood there. Uniforms. Serious faces. That look. The look people get when they're about to change your life. "Mr. Carter?" one of them asked. He nodded. "Are you the father of Emily Carter?" His throat tightened instantly. "Yes." A pause. Short, but heavy. The officer glanced at his partner, then back at him. "I'm sorry to inform you." That was all it took. He didn't hear the rest. The words blurred. Hospital. Emergency. Found unresponsive. Time of incident. 2:23 a.m. His knees gave out. He caught himself on the doorframe. 2:23. 6 minutes. 6 minutes after the call. The number echoed in his head, louder than anything else. He shook his head slightly, like rejecting it could change it. "No," he whispered. The officer stepped forward slightly. "Sir, she's been transported to." "Is she alive?" The question came out fast, sharp, desperate. A pause. Then, "She's in critical condition. Not dead. Not yet. But not safe either." His chest tightened so hard it hurt. "I need to go," he said immediately. His voice was already moving faster than his thoughts. "I need to see her." The officer stepped aside. He didn't even grab a jacket, didn't lock the door, just moved. Out. Into the cold morning air. The drive was a blur. Red lights ignored. Turns taken too fast. Hands gripping the wheel so tight his knuckles turned white. His mind kept replaying it. The call. Her name on the screen. The ring. And him, pressing decline. Over and over. Like a loop he couldn't escape. Answer, or don't. And he hadn't. "Come on. Come on," he muttered, eyes locked on the road. His heart pounded louder than the engine. Every second now felt like something slipping further away. He reached the hospital too fast to remember parking. The doors slid open automatically. Bright lights hit his eyes. Everything inside felt too clean, too controlled. Like a place where chaos gets hidden behind calm faces. "Emily Carter," he said immediately at the front desk. "My daughter," she was brought in. The nurse looked up. Recognition flickered across her face. "Please wait here." Wait. The word felt wrong. "I'm not waiting," he snapped. But his voice cracked halfway through. "I need to see her." The nurse hesitated, then nodded. "Follow me." The hallway stretched long and quiet. Machines beeping faintly behind closed doors. Footsteps echoing, each step heavier than the last. Until they stopped. Outside a room. The nurse turned to him. "She's in there." His hand lifted slowly, rested on the door. He hesitated, because part of him wasn't ready. Not for what he might see, not for what it might mean. He pushed the door open, and everything inside him collapsed. Emily lay on the bed. Still. Too still. Machines surrounding her. Wires. Monitors. A steady, artificial rhythm filling the room. Her face pale, lips slightly parted, eyes closed, like she was sleeping. But not really. Because something was missing. Something that used to be there, every time she looked at him. Life. His legs moved without thinking. He stepped closer, each step slower, more careful, like he was afraid she might disappear if he moved too fast. "Emily," he whispered. No response. He reached out, his hand hovering just above hers. Then finally, he touched it. Cold. Not frozen, but not warm. Not like before. His breath caught. "I'm here," he said quickly. Too quickly. "I'm here, okay?" Like saying it could fix something. Like saying it could undo something. His eyes dropped. To her wrist. A hospital band. And just beneath it, a faint mark, where her fingers must have tightened around her phone. He swallowed hard. His voice barely a whisper now. "You called me." The words hung in the air. Heavy. "I saw it." His chest tightened again. His voice broke. "I thought there'd be more time." The monitor continued its steady beep. Unchanging. Unforgiving. And in that moment, standing beside the bed, holding her cold hand, he finally understood something. Some decisions don't feel big. When you make them, they feel small. Just a tap on a screen. Just a second of hesitation. Just one missed call. Until they become the moment. That changes everything. The room never changed. The machines kept the same rhythm. The light stayed the same sterile white. The air carried that faint smell of antiseptic and something colder, something final. But inside him, everything was different now. He sat beside her bed, unmoving. Hours had passed. Maybe more. He didn't check the time anymore. Because time didn't matter in a place like this. Not when everything depended on something so fragile. Her hand was still in his. He hadn't let go once. "I should have answered," he whispered. The words came out quietly. Not for anyone else. Just for her. "I saw your name." His thumb brushed lightly against her fingers. Careful, like she might feel it. "I just thought." He stopped. Because there was no sentence that made sense after that. No excuse that sounded right. No version of the story where he wasn't the one who chose not to pick up. The door opened softly behind him. A doctor stepped in. Calm. Professional. Used to rooms like this. "Mr. Carter?" He didn't turn. "Yes. We need to talk." Those words again. Always the same. Always heavy. He slowly stood up, reluctantly letting go of her hand. The absence of contact felt immediate. Cold. He stepped into the hallway, the door closing quietly behind him. The doctor folded his hands. Measured. Careful. "Your daughter was brought in early this morning," he began. "I know." The doctor nodded. "She was found unconscious in her apartment. Severe stress response, combined with exhaustion and dehydration." Each word landed slowly. "There are also signs of prolonged psychological distress." His jaw tightened. "What does that mean?" The doctor hesitated. "It means this didn't happen overnight." That hit harder than anything else. Not sudden. Not random. Ongoing. Hidden. Ignored. "She called me," he said quietly. The doctor looked at him. "She tried to reach out." A pause. "Do you know when?" 2:17. The doctor glanced down at the chart. "She was found at 2:23. 6 minutes." Again. The number echoed like a hammer. "If she had gotten help sooner," the doctor continued carefully, "there's a chance this could have been less severe." Less severe. Not avoided. Not undone. Just less. He nodded slowly. But the movement didn't mean acceptance. It meant understanding. And understanding was worse. "Can she hear me?" he asked. "It's possible," the doctor said. "We can't be certain, but patients in her condition sometimes respond to familiar voices." Familiar. The word felt distant. Because when was the last time his voice had felt familiar to her? He nodded again. "I'll stay." The doctor gave a small, respectful nod, then stepped away, leaving him alone in the hallway. He stood there for a moment, not moving. Then slowly, he turned back, pushed the door open again. She was still there, exactly the same. Machine steady, breathing assisted, eyes closed, unreachable. He walked back to the chair, sat down. This time, he didn't hesitate. He took her hand again. Stronger now, like he was afraid she might slip away. "Hey," he said softly. His voice sounded different. Not firm, not controlled. Just human. "I'm here." The same words as before. But this time, they carried something else. Regret. "I should have answered," he said again. No excuse this time. Just truth. "I don't know what I was thinking." His voice cracked. "I thought there'd be another call." Silence. Only the machine responded. Beep, beep, beep. He swallowed hard. "You always used to call me when something was wrong." A faint, broken smile touched his face. "You remember that?" He looked at her, waiting. But nothing changed. "You'd come running, even for the smallest things." He let out a quiet breath. "And I always showed up." His grip tightened slightly. "Except this time." The words hung in the air. Heavy. Permanent. He leaned forward slightly, closer to her. "If you can hear me." His voice dropped, barely above a whisper. "I'm sorry." Not the kind of apology you say to move on. The kind you say when it's already too late. A tear slipped down his cheek. He didn't wipe it. "I don't care about anything else anymore," he continued. "I don't care who you became, or what happened, or why you left." His voice trembled. "I just need you to come back." The machine kept its rhythm, unchanged. He closed his eyes briefly. "Just one more chance." His hand tightened around hers. Like holding on could pull her back. Like grip alone could fix what had been broken. But life doesn't work like that. Some moments don't give second chances. Some decisions don't come with undo buttons. And as he sat there, holding her hand in that quiet room, he finally faced the truth he had been avoiding. She had called him, not as a stranger, not as someone distant, but as his daughter. One last time. And he hadn't answered. The first night in the hospital didn't feel real. It felt like something temporary, like a pause, like at any moment, she would open her eyes, roll them, and say, asterisk, why are you looking at me like that? Asterisk. But morning came, then another, and nothing changed. He stayed, didn't go home, didn't go to work, didn't answer calls. The chair beside her bed became his world. Nurses came and went. Machines beeped. Doctors checked charts. But him? He didn't move much. Just sat there, holding her hand, talking sometimes, sitting in silence most of the time, waiting. On the third day, they brought him her things. A small plastic bag, clear, light, too light. Personal belongings, the nurse said gently. He took it slowly, like it weighed more than it did. Inside, her phone, her wallet, a few small items, pieces of her life, reduced to objects. He stared at the phone. The same phone that had lit up his screen at 2:17. The same one he didn't answer. His fingers tightened slightly around the bag. Can I? He hesitated. The nurse nodded. Yes. He sat back down, placed the bag on his lap. For a moment, he didn't open it. Because once he did, he wasn't just holding her hand anymore. He was stepping into everything he didn't know. Finally, he reached in, pulled the phone out. The screen was cracked slightly along the corner. He turned it over in his hand. Cold. Just like hers. He pressed the power button. Nothing. Battery dead. Of course. He looked around, spotted a charger near the wall, plugged it in, waited. The screen flickered, then lit up. And there it was. The lock screen. A photo. Of her. But not the version everyone else saw. Not the perfect, polished version online. This one was older. She was younger, sitting at the kitchen table, smiling at something off camera. At him. His chest tightened instantly. He hadn't seen that smile in years. The phone unlocked. No password. She never changed it. Still the same. The screen opened to recent calls. And there it was. Dad, 2:17 a.m. Missed. Right below it. Another. Earlier that night. Also missed. And another. 3 calls. Not 1. 3. His breath caught. I didn't even see, he whispered. But that wasn't true. He saw the last one. He just didn't know it wasn't the first. His thumb moved slowly. Open messages. Scrolled. And then. Her name. A thread. Unopened. His heart started pounding. He tapped it. The first message came hours before the call. Emily asterisk. Asterisk, are you awake? Asterisk. Then. Emily asterisk. I know it's late. A pause in time. Then. Emily asterisk. Asterisk, I didn't know who else to text. Asterisk. His throat tightened. He kept reading. Emily asterisk. Asterisk, I think I messed up. Asterisk. Emily asterisk. Asterisk, I'm not okay. Asterisk. The words blurred slightly. He blinked. Forced himself to keep going. Emily asterisk. I didn't want to call. Emily asked, but the sentence didn't finish. Because the truth was, he didn't. The phone slipped slightly in his hand. He caught it. Barely. Then, another notification. A saved audio file. Timestamped. 2:18 a.m. 1 minute after the call. His breath stopped. He stared at it. Not touching it. Because he already knew. Once he pressed play, there was no one hearing it. His thumb hovered. Shaking. Then slowly, he pressed it. The audio crackled softly. Then, her voice. Weak. Shaky. Barely there. Dad. He closed his eyes instantly. I tried calling. Her breathing uneven. I didn't know if you'd answer. A pause. Then softer. I'm scared. The words hit like a punch. I think something's wrong. A faint sound in the background. Movement. I just needed. Her voice broke. I just needed you. Silence. Then, the recording cut. The room didn't move. The machines didn't stop. Everything stayed the same. Except him. Because in that moment, he didn't just hear her voice. He heard the moment. He lost her. And this time, there was no doubt. No confusion. No distance to blame. She had reached out. Not once. Not twice. But 3 times. And all she wanted was her dad. He didn't cry right away. Not when the audio ended. Not when her voice disappeared into silence. Not even when the phone slipped from his hand and landed softly on the blanket beside her. He just sat there. Still. Like his body hadn't caught up to what his mind already understood. I just needed you. The words replayed. Again, and again, and again. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just quiet. And that made it worse. Because she wasn't asking for everything. She wasn't asking him to fix her life, or solve her problems, or save her from the world. She just needed him to stay. And he couldn't even do that. His hand slowly rose to his face, pressed against his mouth, like he was trying to hold something in. But it didn't work. The first breath broke. Sharp. Uneven. Then another. And then, everything collapsed. A sound came out of him he didn't recognize. Not a shout. Not a cry. Something deeper. Like years of silence breaking all at once. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, head down, shoulders shaking. I'm sorry, he choked out. The words fell into the space between them. Too late. I didn't know. But even as he said it, he hated it. Because it sounded like an excuse. And excuses didn't matter anymore. I should have known, he whispered. That was the truth. Because something inside him had known. That instinct. That feeling in his chest. That voice telling him something wasn't right. And he ignored it. Chose silence. Chose distance. Chose pride. Over her. He reached for her hand again. Gripped it tighter this time. I'm here now, he said quickly. Like saying it louder would make it count more. I'm not going anywhere. His voice cracked again. You hear me? The machine answered. Beep. 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 Steady. Unchanging. He shook his head, tears still falling. I don't care about anything else anymore, he said. Not the past, not the fights, not what you said, not what I said. His grip tightened. I don't care who was right. Because suddenly, that didn't matter at all. I just want you back. Silence. His eyes dropped again, to the phone, still resting beside her. He picked it up slowly. Opened the message thread again. Read the words again. Asterisk, can you just stay on the phone with me? Asterisk. He inhaled sharply. Then, without thinking, he pressed call. Her phone. Even though it was right there. Even though she couldn't answer. He pressed it anyway. The call connected. And for the first time, he didn't wait. Hey, he said immediately. His voice softer now, gentler. Like he was speaking to her in that moment. At 2:17. I'm here. He swallowed hard. I'm not going anywhere. His eyes locked on her face. I'll stay on the phone with you. The line was silent. But he kept talking. You don't have to say anything, he continued. You don't have to explain. His voice steadied slightly. Just stay. The machine continued its rhythm. Beep, beep, beep. I know you're scared, he said. I hear it now. His voice dropped. I just wish I heard it then. He leaned closer. If you can hear me. A pause. I'm sorry it took this for me to listen. Time passed. Minutes. Maybe longer. He didn't stop talking. Didn't stop holding her hand. Didn't stop pretending that somehow this could reach her. Because now, he understood something he hadn't before. Love isn't just showing up when it's convenient. It's answering when it's inconvenient, when it's uncomfortable, when it hurts. Because sometimes, that's the moment that matters most. His voice softened again. You always waited for me, he whispered. At the door, at the table, every night. A faint, broken smile touched his face. And I always came. His grip tightened slightly. Except once. The words lingered. Heavy. Final. He looked at her again. Really looked this time. Not at the machines. Not at the situation. At her. His daughter. And for the first time, He didn't see the distance, or the years, or the mistakes. He saw that little girl again, standing at the edge of a dark space, calling out, "Dad, are you coming up?" His voice broke completely. "I'm here now," he whispered. "I'm coming." But this time, he didn't know if she could hear him. The fourth day felt heavier than the others. Not because anything changed, but because nothing did. Same room, same machines, same steady, indifferent rhythm. Beep, beep, beep. He had started to hate that sound, because it meant she was still here, but not really. He hadn't left her side, not once. Nurses tried to convince him. Get some rest. Go home for a few hours. Eat something. He shook his head every time. I'll stay. Because staying was the one thing she asked for. And this time, he wasn't going to fail her. That afternoon, a nurse adjusted the monitor beside her. Routine. Careful. Then paused. Mr. Carter. His head lifted instantly. What? There's been some activity. His heart jumped. What do you mean? She pointed gently to the screen. A small fluctuation. Subtle. Barely noticeable. But different. Sometimes patients respond to familiar voices, she said softly. His chest tightened. He looked at her. Really looked. Emily. Nothing. But something had shifted. Just slightly. Like a ripple in still water. He leaned closer. It's me, he said quickly. I'm here. His voice steadier now. More certain. I told you I wasn't going anywhere. The machine continued. Beep, beep, beep. But now, there was something else. Hope. Fragile. Dangerous. But there. He swallowed hard. You don't have to fight alone, he said. I'm right here. His hand tightened around hers. You hear me? Silence. But not the same silence. You used to wait for me by the door, he continued. Every day. His voice softened. Didn't matter how late I was. His eyes filled again. You never gave up on me. A pause. And I. His voice cracked. I gave up on you for 1 second. The words hung there. Heavy. Real. I don't deserve another chance, he said quietly. But I'm asking for one anyway. He leaned closer. Come back to me. And then, a movement. So small he almost missed it. Her finger. A twitch. Barely there. But real. His breath caught. Emily. He sat up straighter. Eyes locked on her hand. Do that again. Nothing. Just the machine. Beep. 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 He shook his head slightly. No. I saw it. His voice rising. I know I did. Stay calm, the nurse said gently from the doorway. But he couldn't. Because for the first time, there was something to lose again. Emily, he said again, softer now. I'm here. A pause. I'm not leaving. His thumb brushed against her hand again. Slow. Careful. Just like you asked. Silence. Then, another twitch. Stronger this time. His eyes widened. There you go, he whispered quickly. That's it. Tears filled his eyes again. But this time, they felt different. Not just regret. Something else. Something fragile. Something alive. Come on, he said gently. You can do this. The machine shifted slightly. A subtle change in rhythm. Not steady anymore. But not failing either. The nurse stepped forward, checking the monitor. Doctor, she called quietly. He didn't look away. Couldn't. Because now, every second mattered. Emily. His voice softened to a whisper. I'm right here. A long pause. Then, her eyelids flickered. Just once. But enough. His breath stopped. Hey. A tear slipped down his cheek. I'm here. Her eyes didn't open. Not fully. But they moved. Trying. And in that moment, for the first time since that night, he felt it. Not certainty. Not relief. But possibility. Like maybe, just maybe, that missed call wouldn't be the end of their story. Her eyes didn't open all at once. It wasn't dramatic. No sudden movement. No sharp inhale. Just a slow return. A flicker. Then stillness. Then another. Like someone finding their way back through the dark. He didn't move. Didn't breathe. Afraid that even the smallest shift might break whatever fragile thread was pulling her back. Emily, he whispered, his voice softer than it had ever been. I'm here. The words felt different now. Not something he said out of habit. Not something automatic. Something earned. Something he meant with everything he had left. Her fingers moved again. This time, not just a twitch. A slight curl. Around his hand. His breath caught. There you go, he said quickly, tears already forming again. That's it. I got you. The machine beside her changed rhythm slightly. Still steady, but stronger. More certain. Footsteps rushed in. Doctors. Nurses. Movement. Voices. But he didn't look away. Because for him, nothing else mattered. Emily, can you hear me? A doctor asked. Her eyes fluttered again. Longer this time. Struggling. Then, slowly, they opened. Not wide. Not clear. But open. And for a second, they didn't focus. Just drifted. Lost. Until they found him. His face. Right there. Her brow moved slightly. Confusion. Recognition. Then something deeper. Something familiar. Dad. The word broke him. Completely. Yeah, he said instantly, voice shaking. Yeah, I'm here. Her lips parted slightly. You stayed? He nodded quickly. I'm right here. A tear slipped from the corner of her eye. Weak. Slow. But real. I tried, she whispered. I know, he said immediately. I heard it. His voice broke again. I heard everything. She blinked slowly. I was scared. His grip tightened around her hand. I know. Silence settled between them, but not the same silence as before. This one wasn't empty. It was full. Of everything they hadn't said. Of everything they almost lost. I'm sorry, he said. No hesitation this time. No pride. No defense. Just truth. I should have answered. Her eyes softened slightly. You're here now. The words were simple, but they carried something he didn't expect. Not blame. Not anger. Forgiveness. His chest tightened. You shouldn't have had to call twice, he said quietly. Or 3 times. A faint, tired smile touched her lips. You always take a while, she whispered. He let out a broken laugh. Yeah. Tears blurred his vision. But I came. She nodded slightly. You came. And for the first time in years, there was no distance between them. No past. No arguments. No pride. Just a father. And his daughter. Days passed. Slowly. But this time, they moved forward. She got stronger. Little by little. Sitting up. Speaking more. Eating again. And he stayed. Not out of guilt anymore. But because he chose to. Every hour. Every moment. He was there. One afternoon, she sat by the window, sunlight touching her face. He stood nearby, watching, not saying much, just present. You know, she said softly. I almost didn't call you. His chest tightened slightly. But I'm glad you did, he replied. She looked at him, really looked this time. I didn't need you to fix anything, she said. I just needed you to be there. He nodded slowly. I know that now. A pause. Then he added, I won't miss it again. She smiled. Not the perfect smile from the screen. Not the forced one. The real one. The one from years ago. And in that moment, everything felt different. Not fixed, but real. Because some mistakes don't disappear. They stay. They shape you. They remind you. But sometimes, if you're lucky, you get one more chance to answer the call. He looked at her, standing in the light, alive. And quietly, to himself, he said, next time. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Because this time, he already knew the answer. And somewhere deep inside, so did she. If the phone rang right now, and it was someone you love, would you answer?